Hello and welcome to, once again to the Ospreys Eyrie. We'll look back at disappointing results of the Ospreys on Judgement Day. We'll hear about a successful fundraiser, and we'll look forward to our final home game of the season this Saturday against the Men of Gwent. Again, Grant, Josh and Jack, thank you for joining me. Apologies from Jack, who couldn't make it tonight, so as a result you've got me again. Sorry about that, but there we are. Okay, Josh, not been a very busy time in Welsh rugby with regards to official news, but we've got a little bit from the Ospreys.
Yeah, unfortunately not too much good news from an Ospreys perspective. Mark Jones confirmed in his press conference last week that Rhys Davis and Morgan Morris were both likely to have surgery on their respective injuries, and are not likely to feature again for us this season. He didn't confirm whether they might or might not be available for Wales for their summer tour, so there's still hope potentially one or maybe both could be involved in that still. So that's positive from their perspective. Further injury news, I guess he also mentioned that Will Griffiths and Harry Deeves back in full training, so hopefully they might be there or thereabouts for our end of season run-in. So that's great news for a back row perspective. And then, yeah, the only final bit of news is rumoured today that Steve Tandy might or might not have been offered the Wales coaching gig. Obviously, ex-player for us, ex-coach. Yeah, Grant, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Steve's been away from the Welsh game now for 7 years since he left the Ospreys, and since he's been away, he's sort of proven himself wherever he's been at Brumbies and then Scotland defence coach. So yeah, he was a young coach when he's with us, and you look at the way that his teams are performing, and it looks like they're on the right path, and hopefully Steve's on the right path as well. If he definitely knows how he wants to play a game. I've talked to him a couple of times, and he understands there's a way of playing rugby. So, I would have thought that's what it developed over the last few years. And fingers crossed, okay, we're gonna get someone who's fairly battle hardened anyway in terms of and the Welsh public and the way that Welsh rugby is in general. So, if he does get the role, I wish him all the best.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously he hit the ground running, didn't he, with the Ospreys, and we won the league that first year, and it went a little bit down him and there. But he was a young man, and anybody new in any job takes a little bit of time to further develop. He's had very wide experience thereafter. So yeah, but it's only rumor at this point, isn't it?
And I'm sick of rumours. when there's something solid around this, any Ospreys news or Wales news, yeah, they're fed up with rumours. Let's have some facts come out, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, we will need to talk about Judgement Day. Unfortunately, we could come off the wrong way in regards to results. I've got my views on the game, but I'll say those for now. So, Jack, can you give us your thoughts, please, to start us off on our loss to Cardiff on Saturday?
Well, in my notes after watching the game, I've got written here in big hangover, and that's not to describe where everyone was after being a Judgement Day. Yeah, it just looked, players looked tired to the breakdown. It looked a bit laboured again, a little bit leggy. We spoke about it with the Lyon game. And I think probably had a knock-on effect in this game as well. Playing a Cardiff team that had their tails up after a good start, and they already probably had a lot of motivation to play well anyway. And so yeah, it was almost like a rerun of the Lyon game, wasn't it? Just with slightly less intensity, which was passes being a little bit too deep, players taking the ball standing still. Some of the decision making can be questioned, but I don't want to be too negative because I thought that, we talk about Jack Morgan every week, but he's always brilliant, isn't he? He was brilliant again on Saturday. And I thought Morgan Morse was really good on the go forward. Always made meters, looked pretty explosive. bit of discipline here and there that was a bit of a problem, but in general, I thought he played really well. And then, in the second half, you saw a slight increase in that accuracy. The bench made a difference, which is good to see as well. We talk about the depth that the Ospreys had compared to other regions, and I thought that showed to an extent. And then at the end, as they were going out to try and win the game, and they just kind of got picked off with 2 tries, which was slightly disappointing, which made the scoreline look a bit kind of worse than really it should have been in the end. But all in all, I think that it's, it was, first half was disappointing. Second half was an improvement in the accuracy. And yeah, I think, I don't like to say it, but I think that that's probably it for the season, even though Mark Jones seems to think if they can win all 3 now, which they, you want to say they could, because it's sport, it'll be hard, then maybe they'll get a playoff place, but that's, it's going to be difficult. So, that was kind of my take on it, really. There's not much to kind of write home about in terms of excellent performances and so on after a game like that. But to be positive, I think that, Morgan Morse, for instance, coming on, it'd be nice to see him play a lot more next season, I think. And just disappointed, I think. Disappointing few weeks for the Ospreys after such a positive kind of run of matches. But swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
Yeah. Grant, you were there. What did you think?
I would say, Jack has an absolutely spot on summary. I agree with all that. It felt really flat then. It almost, as you said, feels like an echo of a lot of what was going on the previous week against Lyon in terms of one-up runners, not getting much change going forward. And the surprise is, I think we thought we'd have the upper hand over the Cardiff pack, and we just hit a red wall, didn't we? So that the fact that we weren't getting over the gain line with, our plan A, effectively, when we went to plan B in terms of going deeper and a bit wider, it was a bit loose again. But then you look at the try that Will Spencer scored at the end, and when things click, it's still spectacular, isn't it? But there just wasn't enough of that. But generally, there was a lot of really down people coming up to the game. But watching the game back on TV, I don't think we were as bad as my initial impressions being at the game. I think everyone was just really down. You don't want to be losing against Cardiff on Judgement Day. Doesn't happen that often. So I think there's a lot of disappointed supporters, a lot of disappointed players as well again.
Josh, did you think tactically we got it right going into the game?
I think if you look at the stats, possession-wise, we had 60-odd% possession, territory similar, 60-odd% territory. But just watching it back, I think Grant alluded to it there. There's a lot of one-off runners off 9. And I think that played into Cardiff's hands in a lot of ways. Mark Jones mentioned after the game about us struggling a bit at the breakdown first half. But I think sometimes that comes off the back of just playing one-off runners, because their back rowers can kind of line us up and get ready with the jackal threat. Whereas sometimes when you play in the wider channels, you're kind of eliminating those players because they're going to be a lot closer to the ruck. I think from a tactical perspective, I love Keith. I think he's absolutely class. He runs through brick walls, and I think he was brilliant again today. Sorry, not today, but in the last game, he's topped the successful carries 12. But for me, my worry with playing him at 12 is that he isn't a second distributor. And I think Walsh has offered that a lot this season. But when you got Keith, you're just going to give him the ball and he's going to go hard and he's going to go straight. I would potentially, looking forward, maybe look to shift him to 13 just to get us the second distributor, even if I think we looked a lot more dangerous when Owen Williams came on. We had to look a lot more creative, having that second ball player moving. I think we moved Keith out one. So I think I'd be tempted to do that, even play Phil Thoppensinger at 12 as a second ball player.
Who?
Because because I just think, I just think from my perspective, there's a lot of times I was watching the game on TV and I've seen the game back where we had numbers, we just weren't able to get the ball there. And even with Will Spencer's try later on, it was essentially a ball at the back to Dan Edwards, a missed free pass over 3 players who were basically standing in a straight line, as opposed to having any sort of change direction, changing lines. If Vardy Bolshoff have overrun it, a great offload by Keith and a really good finish by Will Spencer. But for me, it's concerning that all that great rugby we were seeing a few weeks ago has kind of disappeared a little bit, and that's going to happen with injuries. In fact, we've got new players coming in. But yeah, I think with that amount of possession, that amount of territory, you'd want to convert a bit more of that into points. I think our style of play probably held us back a little bit in that respect.
You've got to give credit to Cardiff as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
I don't want to say any more than that, mind, but yeah, you've got to give credit to Cardiff. They defended really well.
Do you think, I was looking at some stats as well, I think Cardiff kicked almost twice as much as us, and the meters they made off kicking. Dan's a very, very young 10, and I think sometimes when things don't go his way, as perhaps has happened the last two games, when there's been a really good, well-organised defence, I think we perhaps some of that inexperience does show, and maybe there's more that the scrum halves could be doing to help him there, to take a little bit of responsibility off his shoulders. That's just to. But I think Mark in his interview afterwards was saying that we just increased our accuracy as well, didn't we? We stopped dropping it. And all of a sudden we were back in the game. I agree. I think Cardiff particularly defended well. I would drive him more. We didn't really look like going anywhere with that. It was just. It wasn't in hindsight, it wasn't a awful performance, but it was certainly could have been better. Did you agree with the selection? Do you think we should have freshened it up a bit more, or do you think it was the right amount of changes?
I think it was the right amount of changes, considering the enforced changes that had to be made because of the injuries. I mean, you've got a whole new second row kind of unit in there. Scrum half was changed as well. Number 8 was changed. You don't want to start like ripping it up further. I do wonder why. I do agree that if one-up runners aren't working, I do also agree with Josh there. Why not bring Wyn Williams on as a second distributor or something, along those terms to try and change it a little bit. And also that can also help Dan Edwards, who wasn't having, a vintage game. But I think in terms of like the team that went out there, it should have had enough to not be overpowered as much as it did in the first half in terms of with the mauls and scrums and so on. So I wouldn't have gone with more changes.
Okay, unless anybody's got anything else to say about Saturday, we'll move on from the game anyway. But we'll talk about something that was successful on Saturday. Grant, do you want to tell us something about your day?
Yeah, my day started probably a little bit earlier than most people. Maybe not you, Nick, depending on when you travel down. But well, 44 riders, cyclists set off from the Swansea.com at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, and cycled our way to Cardiff to raise money for Ospreys in the community again. It was great to see a selection of riders who've been on the last couple of big rides to Dublin and to Paris. It was really good to see a lot of new people turn up as well, cycling with us for the first time. So hopefully we can sort of spread the word in terms of what Ospreys in the community do in terms of Action for Children programs and Sport in Memories programs, where there's a lot going on in the community. We did have a massive fundraising target this time. This time was really about sort of promoting and expanding the right to rugby concept. But I've got to say, weather started off pretty miserable and perked up throughout the day. But who would believe that you can make the journey between Swansea and Cardiff stretch to 55 miles? Definitely zigzagged away. As soon as we got to the Vale, we definitely zigzagged away around South Wales. I can't believe there's like 20% gradients around the Vale as well to go up. But I do know. I definitely know that.
Well done. And obviously I'm sure they've probably been very busy. I've seen a few clips. The Ospreys in the community busy doing the kids camps over the Easter holiday. And as you say, they also do a lot with the older people as well. So I think it's very much a very important part of the club and a very successful part of the club. And the people who are involved, do very, very well. And also the support they get from the supporters club, I'm sure they value that very much.
if people don't know what Ospreys in the community do, Google them. They're not part of Ospreys Rugby. Okay, it's another part of, if you like the word franchise, it's part of the Ospreys franchise, but they're independent of the rugby club itself. Okay, but they work really closely with the club and with the supporters and do a lot in the community.
Okay, just if you remember, if you are enjoying the podcast, please give us a like, or better still, pass on the information to a friend or family, and please subscribe. Okay, back to you then, Grant, please. I think there was some talk about the attendance on Saturday. It was more than we were there last year, but obviously there was a full round of regional results, and maybe that's something the rugby union, maybe if they are going to continue with Judgement Day, and maybe want to look at. That for instance, if there's an international, there's far fewer regional games, but there was obviously it's the business end of the season for everybody, promotion, relegation, and so on. So there's a lot of potential people who might have gone down on Saturday who were involved in their local clubs. But again, that's a slight aside. So over to Grant then for the regional results from Australia.
Okay. Chip in and interrupt whenever you want, otherwise I shall work my way through from the top. National League 1 West Central, Nantyffyllon 28, Bridgend Athletic 35. So Athletic are top of the league with 2 games in hand. Uplands are already done, so well done to Bridgend Athletic. Skewin with a narrow win over Builth Wells, 25-24. Moving on to League 2 West Central, Brynaman 25, Abercrave 23. Mumbles 31, Hale Cow 21. Hale Cow still uncatchable at the top of the table there.
All right.
League 3 West Central, Carmarthen 71, Tonnan 19. Bit of a local derby over the top of the hill. It's the biggest points total of the day. Tonmouth 49, Bridgend Sports, 0. Nantymoel 7, Neath Athletic 53. That's the biggest away win of the day, and Neath Athletic are table toppers there. League 4 West Central, Britain Ferry 21, Seven Sisters 36. And Seven Sisters climbed to the top of the table there, above the Rigos. League 5 West Central, Bonamine Athletic 20, Dunvant Athletic 19, close one there. Glencorru 10, Banwan 19. Moving on to National League 1 West, Wanalai 34, Hendy 12. National Championship West, Ammanford 31, Gosainan 15. Crummock 26, Tartar Steel 38. Tartar top of the league, but Wanderers, Llanelli Wanderers still have got 2 games in hand and could pull that back. Gleneath 34 and Llanelli Wanderers 50. Maesteg Quins 17, Trebanos 45. Good away win there for Trebanos. Ystalyfr 29, Dunvan 33. Moving on to the WRU Premiership, Bonamine 43, Brecon 28. Cardiff Met 17, Neath 33. And finally then, in Super Rugby Cymru, Bridgend Ravens 34, Llandyfri 33. Ebervale 21, Swansea finished the season miserably with 17. And final result of the day, RGC 54, Aberavon 34. So Super Rugby Cymru has not been great for the Australian teams, all 3 of them the bottom half of the league.
Yeah. Going back to, I saw something that Ollie Burrows, I think he's a hooker who's on Dragons books, young hooker. I think he's the coach at Neath Athletic. He's developing his coaching, and I think they won the league. I think, are they in there? I think so.
Sure. I'm pretty sure Neath Athletic, they table toppers. I don't think
so fair play to him. Yeah. So he's obviously a local boy, even though he's down at the Dragons, and he's given up his time outside of his own professional commitments. So that that's to be applauded as well. Okay, since we talk about the Dragons, we'll talk about our last home match. Who knows? We might be able to wheel tips on. Whether he's going to be fit or not to play it, who knows? But how are we feeling about Saturday and the visit of the Dragons? I thought they were better in their game than they have been for a while. But as I say, it's a game that hopefully we can get a result in, because we are in an unfortunate position that we could potentially be looking at 3 consecutive losses for the first time, both in the league and in actual back-to-back fixtures. So I don't think we want that, do we? Whatever happens the rest of the season. So who wants to kick off talking about to Saturday? You want to go first?
I'll carry on if you want.
Oh my God.
Get you out of the way. I'm talking about, but it's almost inconceivable in the way we've played in the middle part of the season that if the Dragons beat us, we'll end up bottom of the Welsh Shield. Unbelievable that we could end up there when you look at it. Really good away game. Win against Scars, draw against Cardiff, and apart from that's all we've managed. So it almost feels like we almost want the season to end, but we've still got 3 games to go, and it's really important that we try and finish this season in at least a little bit of style, especially at home. And you'd like to think that, especially as Josh said, if you've got people like Harry Deeves potentially available and Will Griff, then that's fantastic news considering where we've been with injuries the last few weeks. So fingers crossed. I think forwards wise, we've got some choices. Backs wise, it's almost like the side is nearly picking itself, but let's see.
Jack?
It's almost like the worst way to end a season, isn't it? Having Welsh derbies, because you never know how they're going to go. You'd almost rather be playing some other teams where you can kind of have a guess of what's going to happen. Yeah, it is. It's difficult to say because you don't know what team he's going to put there either. Like now you're in this like quite difficult situation of like I think the players do need a rest, but we're also looking at 3 losses in a row. So do you put the same team out and hope that they can pick themselves up, or do you make changes and give those players a rest going into South Africa and then risk the Dragons turning up and playing, like they did on Judgement Day? But they always play well on Judgement Day, and so it's really hard to say now. It's a hard one to kind of look at and see where you go with it and what Mark Jones does in terms of his team selection. And the idea of finishing bottom of the Welsh Shield is it's a surprise, isn't it? And it's it's all of a sudden become a very difficult game, actually. And when you're talking about a team that's bottom of the league, that's a strange thing to say. It's almost because you'd expect a win that it becomes a lot harder when you're on this run. So difficult one to call, and I'm not really looking forward to it, to be honest.
Josh?
Yeah, it's hard to predict, isn't it? After the last couple of performances, I probably would make changes if I was Mark Jones. I'd look to bring in probably Garen Phillips at loose head, give Gareth Thomas a rest. I think Garen Phillips has been really impressive when he's come on, and he needs more game time if we're going to look to if he's going to be our second choice loose head going forward. Again, similarly at tight head, I don't think Dragons, famous last words, pose the same threat at scrum time as other teams. So is it a chance to maybe get Ben Warren some more game time, give Tom Bofer a rest? He's 34. Is it time to potentially give Ben Warren a bit more time? Similarly, I'd probably look to start Will Spencer. I thought he made a big difference when he came on.
He was good, wasn't he, when he came off the bench?
Yeah.
Oh, he's class. Yeah, I really like James Ratty, but I personally prefer him at 6 and having a bigger 6. I think he's a lightweight second row, a big 6. So I potentially look to maybe move Ratty to the back row, move Will Spencer into second row. Again, if Deeves is fit and Tipperick isn't, then I'd probably go with Deeves at 7, maybe give Jack a bit of a rest before the trip to South Africa, maybe put him on the bench. I would probably rotate more in the pack. In the backs, I'd probably keep it relatively consistent, maybe move Keith to 13 and try Ivo and Williams or Thockensinger at 12. Give Boshoff a rest. Not that Boshoff's been poor, he's been brilliant, especially defensively for us. I'd probably ring a few changes. I think Dragons are going to be a big challenge. Them having players like Angus O'Brien back is a big boost for him. I think he's a very underrated regional player in a lot of areas. So, I think it's going to be a tough game. It's definitely certainly not going to be a walkover.
No, I think it's a tricky game, isn't it? As we've alluded to, I think we need to freshen things up. And I think I would do with the swap with Dewi coming in to start because he made a difference as well when he came on, and Jack going to the bench, or even if Tips, obviously should Tips be able to play, Obviously I would want Tips involved, even if he's only on the bench, just to come on, say to farewell to people. So, I thought Morgan Morse, as I think we said, has definitely got something. He's a young player. He makes mistakes, which you'd expect from a young player, but he does things that great though Morgan Morris is, he can do things that even Morgan Morris isn't able to do. So I certainly would start Morgan Morse at 8. Yeah, I think we sort of feel that if we play anywhere near our potential and a bit more accuracy, and perhaps a little bit more variety in a game, I think we should come out on top. But I just think it's hard sometimes after 2 losses, 3 consecutive games. So, they're emotionally tired, if not physically tired. So it's whether we can raise the game for Saturday, because whatever happens on Saturday, now they will have a week off the week afterwards, won't they? Before they go to South Africa. So is it a case of saying to some people, well, yeah, I know you're knackered, but you just got to go again, and give them maybe some time off with the family next week, before they go back into training, and obviously the long flight to South Africa. So so hopefully we can finish the season with a little bit of a flourish. I've been looking at some of the stats. I think to finish 8, obviously we got 50 points last year, and we just got in. That's round about the mark. I think there was 1 year when there was, since URC started, 49 just got in. But even if we win these 3 games, we've only got, and with bonus points, we've only got 48. So and that's going to take some doing to get 3 wins with 4 tries in 2 of those in South Africa. So for me, it's about certainly finishing strongly at home, getting a good win, and then just going to South Africa and hopefully getting some results there. But we'll see. So it's prediction time. I can already predict Grant's prediction. So I'll leave Grant to last. And I'll start with
So I think last week I said we win by 14, didn't I? So I regret that now. So I'm gonna be more conservative this time. I say maybe win by 7. We'll go for a try, convert a try.
Okay. Good. Josh?
Oh, let's go Ospreys by 5.
Okay. And Grant, don't let me down now, Grant. I know, please don't let me down.
I'm going to let you down, Nick. I think there's going to be some sort of backlash from the boys. I think we win by 12.
Oh, wow.
Plus.
Excellent. I'm very happy on that. I'm a bit more conservative. I'll go Ospreys by 5 as well, but I'd be absolutely delighted if Grant is correct. And hopefully we can get back together next week and celebrate a win. But unless anybody's got anything to add, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, if you think about going to the stadium, get down there. It's the last game in Swansea.com this season. Might have a couple before Christmas, but this is almost a goodbye to the stadium as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Coming down.
Good idea. Okay, well, thank you very much. And as I say, let's hope we are celebrating a win, and we can continue our season, at least go to South Africa with something really to play for. So good night, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers.